Our first project this semester is going to be a compare and contrast project. And in this project, you're going to choose a few of the readings that you will have completed by the time we finish week 3. So anything from weeks 1 through 3. You're going to go through those readings that you've chosen. Hopefully you've chosen them because they stand out to you in some way, or they intrigue you. They raise specific questions for you. Something that is more than just, oh, okay, I'll choose this one, right? Something that you have an interest in. This is your project, so you should try to be interested in it. So once you've chosen those readings, you want to start looking at the various commonalities that they have. So do they all address the same or similar theme, but perhaps in different ways? Do they all have a similar voice? Do they have questions that they raise that are the same, or overlapping questions, or wildly contrasting questions? Do they have a similar structure? Are they the same genre? Did you choose 3 poems, for example? Or other reasons that they have commonalities, other things you can pick out that they have sort of in common, or that they have a relationship with one another. Your goal is going to be to create a slide presentation that examines 1 or 2 or possibly 3 key ways in which these pieces converge and where they diverge. This is best done by first developing a line of inquiry. For example, what does it mean to be American in the antebellum United States? There are lots of lines of inquiry, but that's the one that popped into my mind, so that's the one you get for right now. But once you sort of have your line of inquiry, it'll be a lot easier to develop your content, the content of your presentation around that question, about trying to explore and answer that particular question, that line of inquiry. After you have explored that line and you've kind of brought it to some sort of a conclusion that gives your best attempt at answering that question based on those readings and the research you've done related to those readings, you're going to close your presentation with a reflection on your understanding of how African American writers view the world, how literature works as a tool for cultural preservation and reflection on the human experience, and what it means to be free. Right, so that's like the overview, the outline of what you are looking at for this project. Now you can either record your presentation with audio like I do, and that'll work if you're using PowerPoint or Keynote, because both of those you can do an audio recording right in the presentation. Unfortunately, Google Slides doesn't offer that option, so you'd have to do a different way. If you wanted to use Google Slides, which you can, and I can tell you a couple of things you can use. In fact, what I'm using right now to create this presentation is a screen recorder. So I could put my presentation up here in Google Slides and then go through that presentation with the screen recorder on that also records audio, and then I could have that available. I just have to remix it into an MP4 file, and then that's something that you can share in your Google folder. There are probably other options as well. You can use, I think iMovie would work for this, or something similar to that. And if you don't have the technology tools, that's okay. You can just provide a written script for each slide. So what would you say if you were going to present this as a project in front of the class? Write out your script for that. All right. At this point in a live lecture, I'd be asking, does anyone have any questions? So right now, if you have questions, make a note of those and put them into the virtual office on Blackboard. Okay, So here's the nitty-gritty here of what you have to have. Your presentation needs to have at least 10 content slides plus your title slide and works cited slide. You can have more than 10, but 10, if you have fewer than 10 slides, you probably will not have exactly what you need. You probably won't have things developed as well as you need. That's a better way to say that. Each slide should contain relevant content. This is not a good place to put just that random cartoon that you thought was funny for no good reason. But if you have that random cartoon that, hey, illustrates a point you want to make, feel free to add that in. It's kind of fun. Each of your slides should be easy to read. You don't want to have text that's too small. You don't want to have too much text on one slide. You want it to use legible fonts and colors, appropriately placed graphics and other media elements if you're including like links to videos or embedding videos or audio clips into your presentation. Whatever it is, you just want it to be aesthetically pleasing and easy to read. Right. Each slide should have a clear focus and purpose. So if you're not really sure why all the things that you have on one slide are on one slide together, you probably want to revise that. Make sure that they all support the same focus and purpose. Kind of like when you have, your main idea and then everything in the paragraph has to support that main idea. All of your supporting evidence should pass the CRAP test, meaning it should be current, relevant, authoritative, accurate, and the purpose should be supportive of scholarship. That doesn't mean you have to get these things from scholarly journals only, but that you aren't trying to use somebody's randomly written blog post that they had to write for their high school class about this piece that they had to read, because that's really not supportive of college level scholarship. You have to include in-text citations for all quoted, paraphrased, and summarized material, just like you would in an essay. You need to include a works cited slide with full citations in MLA format. Remember, there are links to the Purdue OWL resources in your annotated bibliography document. I may remember to come back and add them to this document as well. Try to make it as easy as possible for you. If you choose to work with your collaborative group as a group on this project, the names of all the participants have to appear either on the title slide or you need to create sort of a credits slide at the end. You are allowed to include graphics and audiovisual links. That's not a problem as long as they're relevant to the content of your presentation. And the slides, of course, should be free of grammar, usage, mechanics, and spelling errors. Right, so you have a choice. You can do this individually, which might be easier for many of you because you're all on kind of strange schedules, or not strange, but different schedules, and some of you are you have more ready and relevant and reliable access to the internet than others. So if it's better for you to complete your project individually, that is fine. The rest of your group may choose to work as a group without you, or they may also choose to work individually. And then if the whole group wants to work together, that's fine as well. So if you choose to work as a group, you need to create a slide that lists each participant's main contributions to the project. Ooh, I noticed a typo. I can fix that right now. Ha! Anyway, so you can make that, part of your credits slide, or you can make that in addition to the credits slide, or you could give each participant their own credits slide if you wanted to. But we need to make sure that everyone is participating and that it should be a fairly equal distribution of work. So if one person did a particular area of research and created slides 2, 6, and 9, those are the ones that you want to include for that participant's contributions. So that's basically what's required of that. So again, in a live class, I would be asking, does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? So this is your cue to make note of those so that you can pop onto Blackboard and add them into the virtual office. Questions about the course. You can possibly create a new thread about just this project. If not, maybe I'll go in and create a thread about this project. But in any case, let me know what questions and concerns you have. This week, the work that you are required to do for this project, since we're just getting into the readings, I have brainstorming ideas and developing an inquiry question. And notice here's a link to that document we were just looking at right here. I added that in just now, or like a few minutes ago. Excuse me. It's allergies, guys. I don't sneeze, I cough. Anyway, and I'm sorry for all the ums. Whew, take a deep breath. Okay, so one tool that you can use for brainstorming ideas, and that's something that you can use as a group if you want to do this as a collaborative group or on your own. So if you go to your Google screen, then you can click on the waffle here for the Google Apps. And you might have to scroll down because I dragged this up from down below, but there's an app called Jamboard. If you open Jamboard up, I was playing around with one a little earlier, so we'll just open that one. But if you were creating one, there was that plus sign over here. Just click on that plus sign. Alright, so Jamboard is basically a whiteboard, but it's one that anyone in your collaborative group could use. So if you create this in your collaborative group folder, then all of you can add to this. So you have some different options for pen, marker, highlighter, and brush. You have an eraser. You have colors that you can choose from. Not a lot, but you have some colors. You can select things. I don't really know what you would do with them once you select them, but you can select them. You can add sticky notes in, and you can even add images in. So this is kind of a good little brainstorming, note-taking kind of tool that you can use. So say you wanted to sort of map out your ideas and you want to go with that inquiry question that we were looking at just a little bit ago. You could just start writing in here like American. So what does it mean to be American in the antebellum United States? And so then you could just start, writing down what we know from our reading, what we know from history. You had to be white. If you were going to be a citizen, you had to be male, and you had to be over 18, and I think maybe at that time you had to be a landowner too, but I'm not positive on that one because I'm not. So that would be an area where I would want to do more research, but generally Americans were white, they were male. Females, they could be Americans as well, they just weren't considered voting Americans. They didn't have the right to vote. So, we could put female as kind of subordinate to male in that sense. And we could see that at that time Americans were mostly European descent. That's part of the white, but it's important to notice that they were mostly European and mostly British. Okay, so you can see how you can just start adding things in. You can you can make this board however you want it to be, and then it's called Untitled Jam, but you can rename it and you can call it your brainstorm, if you can type right, which I can't. But in any case, brainstorm. Okay, so now it's brainstorm, and it's in my Google Drive when I go there. And right now this isn't shared with anyone, but if I wanted to, I could share it with all of you, and you could write all kinds of strange things all over. And that's where, like, maybe the colors come in handy, that each participant could choose a color so that you guys would know whose work was what and could keep things straight and whatnot. But this board, I thought you could scroll down, but maybe you can't scroll down until you start doing some things. Anyway, it's been a while since I've used it. But it's a good tool that you may want to check into. All right. Okay, and then on your annotated bibliography page, you have the complete MLA citation. That's a link to the Purdue OWL. I will try to also put that link in the Project 1 document, but if I forget, that's where it is in the annotated bibliography page, which I need to record that video now. So this is me saying, put your questions in the virtual office. Let me know how things go.